So the next thing we need to think about is marginal analysis. Marginal analysis is one of the ways that economists think people make decisions. Okay, marginal is not we use the term in a way differently than it's commonly used. Like if it's commonly used, like if you want to marginalize someone, then you want to denigrate them or put them on the edges of society, put them on the fringe. That's not the way we use marginal analysis. Marginal to an economist means additional is a synonym, or incremental. Okay, so we use marginal in terms of incentives. Okay, so one of the points of this chapter is that managers need to understand incentives, the incentive structure of any decision. They need to understand if they raise the price of the product, then that is an incentive for consumers to buy less of the product. Managers need to understand if they raise the price, the wage that they're willing to hire workers at, then the wage is an incentive to work, and they'll probably get more applicants for new positions. Okay, so incentives are changes in benefits and cost of a behavior. Okay. And the incentive to produce goods and services is profit. So in that profit equation, we've got a lot of incentives. Okay, so the business firm looks at profit as their incentive to be in business in the first place. Total revenue depends on price, which is the incentive to purchase a product. It's the cost that consumers face, or at least the money costs that consumers face. And then the cost of production includes all of the payments made to owners of resources, which are their incentives to supply those resources to the business firm. So incentives, understanding how incentives work, is real important to a manager and to the business firm. So the good news is incentives work pretty simply. If the benefit of some activity increases, then the person engaged in activity is more likely to want to increase that behavior, that activity. And vice versa. If the benefit falls, then the person engaged in that behavior is going to want to pursue less of it. So let me just write that out, and let's say that X equals some behavior, and say an increase in the benefit, we'll call the benefit B. If the benefit of X increases, then, okay, the equal sign with an arrow just means this is happening next. The behavior is happening next, then X is going to increase. We would expect, an economist would predict that X is going to increase. Okay? And if the benefit of X goes down, we're going to expect X to decrease. So there's a positive relationship. between the benefit of doing X and X itself. And we say that this is causal. This theory that we're talking about is known as rational choice theory. And since we have a theory to predict the direction of an effect, we can use the word causal instead of correlation. Okay. Okay, on the other side, the other part of that theory is when there are changes in the cost of the activity. If the cost of some activity increases, then we're going to predict that the amount of that activity is going to decrease. And if the cost of the activity decreases, we're going to predict that the amount of the activity is going to increase. Okay, and this is also a causal statement because of our rational choice theory. Okay, and so that's how economists believe that incentives work. We have a lot of evidence that our theory does predict behavior. On the consumer side, we've got the demand relationship. When business firms raise their price, they observe less of the product being purchased. On the supply side of a market, there's plenty of evidence that if the price that consumers are willing and able to pay for a product increases, then business firms are going to increase their production. I could go on and on and on about the evidence that supports this theory. It's a foundation of economics, it's a foundation of managerial economics. So the idea of this course is to harness that theory and help managers understand how to make better decisions. Okay, so using that notion of incremental analysis and incentives, let's think in terms of marginal analysis. And at this point, the book steps back from the notion of profits and just thinks about any activity, like we just did, in terms of thinking about an activity of X, and we've got benefits and cost of X. Okay, we could think of the total or the net benefit as the difference between benefits and cost. Total between total benefits and total cost. So that's our notation now is B and C. And let's call MB marginal benefit and MC is marginal cost. Okay, so repeating our incremental rule that we just discussed, if marginal benefit is greater than marginal cost, if the additional benefit of pursuing an activity is $20 and the additional cost is $5, then you're probably making a good decision if you pursue that activity. Then yes, pursue the activity. Pursue X. Increase your X behavior. Okay? Then on the other hand, if marginal benefit is less than marginal cost, then don't do the thing. Okay? Then we'd say, no, I don't want to do that. And my pursuit of X is going to fall. Okay, so with that in mind, let's get back to the manager. The manager's objective is to maximize net benefits. Okay, now let's get back to the notation that's used in the book, and we'll say that N of Q is our net benefit, and that depends on total benefit of pursuing Q and the total cost of pursuing Q, where Q is what we've been calling X, any activity. It doesn't necessarily have to be production of goods and services. It could be a business firm's recycling program or some other sustainability program that the business firm wants to pursue and being engaged in corporate social responsibility activities, that kind of thing. Just think of this in generic terms as just some business firm activity. Okay, so the firm's objective is to maximize net benefits, and it turns out that the optimal amount of this activity, and we'll start using Q star, the star, to represent optimal or best. Okay, the optimal Q star is that which maximizes net benefits, depends on marginal benefit and marginal cost. Okay, so the marginal benefit and marginal cost right now has been kind of abstract, theoretical. Let's make this a little bit more concrete. So marginal benefit is equal to, it's an increment. So whenever we change Q, change our activity, if we increase our activity by 1 unit, then that is going to generate changes in the benefit. Okay, and so delta stands for change in, and we'll be using that notation a lot this semester. Okay, and likewise, the marginal cost of something is the change in the cost that comes about because of the change in output. Okay, so a couple things about marginal benefits and marginal cost. And I'm going to draw my first graph. And let's put the activity on the horizontal axis and then dollars on the vertical axis, because these benefits and costs, they're all measured in dollars. We can measure our net benefits as the money that's left over after we generate benefits and we subtract cost. Okay, so this is going to be a typical graph, that graphical model that we use this semester. Okay, and these graphs are models. They are simplified depictions of complex reality. Okay, so in general, a marginal benefit declines with an activity. The more you pursue an activity. Think about the benefits of eating pizza. You go to an all-you-can-eat buffet, and you pay a price up front. You pay your $10. You can eat all you want. The first slice of pizza is oh so good because you're really hungry and you have the smell and it's all hitting you at once and you taste it and oh wow, this is so great. But the second slice, for some reason, is not as great. Okay, some of your hunger has been satisfied. You've already tasted the pizza once. You taste it again. It's good. You receive benefits from it, but it's not as good as the first slice. Okay, so that's known as diminishing marginal returns. Okay, when diminishing marginal return sets in for consumers, then the marginal benefit of consuming different products declines. And this happens with most activities, whether it's buying a product, eating pizza, throwing frisbee, having kids, whatever you do. After a while, the additional benefit of that activity is going to start to go down. Okay, the marginal cost has a similar theory associated with it. I'm going to put off telling the story until we get to chapter 5, because there's some technical relationships that we need to talk about that are just too involved for right now. But that story results in an upward sloping marginal cost curve. Okay, so this is a typical economic relationship. The more an activity takes place, the lower the benefits, the lower the additional benefits, and the more an activity takes place, the higher the additional cost. Okay, but let's don't lose sight of the fact that M, cost and benefit, stands for additional or incremental. Okay, so here's a statement I just said. As Q increases, marginal benefit goes down, but total benefit increases because each marginal benefit is added to the previous total. Okay, so if, let's say that we start with a $10 marginal benefit for the first unit of this activity, then the total benefit is also $10. Okay, if the second unit of this activity generates benefits of $8, then the total is equal to 18. Okay, so even though there are diminishing returns to each unit of the activity, we still have total benefits increasing. Okay, the same thing's happening on the cost side. You need to be able to make the distinction between an increasing marginal cost and an increasing total cost, which is equal to the sum of the marginal cost. So looking at our numbers here, if that looks like about a 3 and a 5 maybe. Okay, so the total cost of the second activity is going to be, of the first two activities, is going to be $8. Okay, so in terms of making decisions, earlier we said that if the marginal benefit is greater than the marginal cost, then we want to then we want to pursue the activity. So the marginal benefit of the first activity is 10. Marginal benefit of the second is, of the marginal cost of the first is 3. So our net benefit of pursuing the first unit of the activity is 7. So we want to do it. Okay, so then we move to the second unit and try to make a good decision. It looks like the additional benefit of the second unit is 8, and the additional benefit of the additional cost of the second unit is 5, and so the net benefit of the second unit is 3, and so it looks like we want to pursue the second unit of that activity. Okay, so let's move to the third unit, and we've got marginal benefit of 6 and a marginal cost of $5.50, and so the net benefit is 50 cents. It's pretty low. So do you want to do that? I'll let you think about that one for a second. The benefit of the third unit is 6 and the cost is $5.50. Okay. You want to do that one? You're only going to get 50 cents out of it. And I'm checking my pockets. I got no money. I sure would like to have 50 cents. So if I could do something that would drop 50 cents in my pocket, I'm going to do that. So yeah, we're going to keep pursuing this activity through the third unit. Okay. But what about the fourth unit? It looks like the fourth unit is going to generate marginal cost equal to something like 6 and marginal benefits equal to something like 550. So do you want to pursue that one? It's like if we pursued the fourth activity, if you had 2 quarters in your pocket, someone's going to take it away from you. You like that? I don't like that. Yeah, so I'm not going to pursue the fourth unit of this activity. Okay, so now let's think about, that seems, I mean, that usually works for folks. I'm hoping that is fairly obvious at this point. If not, shoot me an email and say that this is the point of the lecture where you just weren't getting it. Okay, so I took a picture of the screen because I wanted to use those numbers in another way. I want to use this in terms of put this stuff into a table. So let's look at 1, 2, 3, 4 units of the activity. And marginal benefits, this is called a marginal benefit schedule. When we get to chapter 3, we'll talk about a demand schedule. It's the same idea, but it's just the corresponding quantities and values that we're going to lay out here. So the marginal benefit goes from 8, so from 10 to 8 when you consume the second unit, to 6 when you consume the third unit, and then to 550 when you consume the fourth unit. The total benefit is the cumulative marginal benefits. So the total benefit of the first unit is 10, the second is 18, the third is 24. Okay, we've got 10 plus 8 is 18, 18 plus 6 is 24, and purple, 24 plus 5.5 is 29.5. Okay, on the cost side, our marginal costs go from 3 to 5 to 550 to 6. Okay, and the total costs are computed just like the total benefits. It is the cumulative marginal cost. So when output is, when the activity is equal to 1, total costs are 3, then 8, and 13.5, and 19.5. Okay, 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 plus 5 is 13.5, and 13.5 plus 6 is 19.5. Okay, now think about the net benefit associated with this decision. Okay, the total benefit minus total cost equals the net benefit. So the net benefit generated from the first unit is 7. From the second unit is 10. Okay, so 10 minus 3 is equal to 7. 18 minus 8 is equal to 10. So the net benefit, okay, is the difference in the total benefit and total cost. Okay, 24 minus 13.5 is 10.5. Okay, so going from the second to the third unit increases our net benefit by those 2 quarters that I talked about. And then the net benefit of the fourth unit is 29.5 minus 19.5, and so we're back down to 10. Okay, so in this case, it looks like our optimal Q is the one that maximizes net benefits. That's equal to 3. Okay, even though we can keep pursuing, if your decision rule is keep pursuing this activity until the total benefit is less than the total cost, you're going to pursue too much of this benefit, because that decision rule would lead you to pursue the fourth unit, because our net benefits are still positive. But by pursuing that fourth unit, you've given up 50 cents.